back in Phoenix, getting on the plane, so excited.
Yeah.
And pulling away from the gate, the pilot comes on and basically makes an apology and says that there's a mechanical issue, so we need to return to the gate, and that it should only take a minute or two. But an hour later, we're thinking about our 1.5 hour layover in Miami to get the international flight over from the States to Israel. And we were getting a little concerned when the minutes ticked by on the tarmac at Sky Harbor Airport in Phoenix. So how were you feeling about that?
Oh, I was a little bit worried because I knew we only had about an hour and 19-minute layover when we got to Miami. And that was our last opportunity to get on a flight to Israel, I think, for another day. And then when we sat on the tarmac for about an hour, I thought, oh boy, where are we going to be? Okay, Lord, whatever your will is, because if it's your will for us to be on that plane, you're going to get us there. If it's not your will, then stop us. And then we started smelling smoke inside the plane, and we're like, oh no, what is that smell? And we asked the I want to call him stewardess, the flight attendant. Thank you. The flight attendant. And I'm like, is there a reason why it smells like smoke? And she's, oh, it's just jet fuel. It's just jet fuel.
It's just
We're like,
jet
it
fuel?
doesn't smell like jet fuel. It actually smells like smoke.
Just jet fuel. It's explosive, and we're smelling it like really
I'm
strong.
like, what? So, you're crazy. Okay. Yeah. And then she went up to the pilot and he says, oh yeah, it's just jet fuel. It'll go away. And it did. It went away, but we lost an hour of time. I think we might have gained back a little bit in the air.
We did, because we went up to 40,000 feet. In fact, I think it was 39,999 feet that we were cruising at for the longest time. I don't know if we were sitting a foot below the pilot, or if we were actually at 40,000 feet. But anyway, we made up some good time, and then we had about 40 minutes maybe from the gate to get a mile. It was about a mile, I think, from one gate to the next in Miami. And they were closing the doors right when we got there, and they let us on. So we barely made it. They weren't waiting for us. They weren't going to hold the plane for anybody. It's not like it used to be, so they say. And we made it onto the plane, and the rest of the flight was fairly uneventful. However, there were some significant turbulence halfway over the Atlantic Ocean on the way to Europe and to Tel Aviv. So it was not a restful flight, but it wasn't that bad either. Yeah. But to our surprise and delight, as soon as we landed, we got a text from Avi. Now, Avi's been a friend for several years, though we've not really hung out in person. We've only just been acquaintances, but we've known about the great work they're doing. We've shared it with some friends and family, and there's been some contributions to the way that they're really making a difference on the ground in Tel Aviv. And so we get this text from Avi, and it says, "Shalom, welcome to Israel. Will you be able to meet me at the prayer tower?" Which was really an answer to prayer, because we really wanted to start out this trip with not just praying ourselves, but being in a place that we could really join together with some kindred spirit and pray together for what we have hoped and planned to be an amazing 15 days on the ground in Israel, with 10 different organizations that are each doing very different things from each other, but all making a very big difference in individual lives as well as communities.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
so we got to meet with Avi even before we came and checked into our Airbnb, which you can see we're in comfortably now. But as we met with Avi and prayed with him, he showed us some history of the land, and you may not realize the gravity of this, but less than 120 years ago, in the place that we were standing, which was the 18th floor of a high rise close to the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, this was only sand. There was nothing here, and it was a desolate, abandoned um, um, landscape, and there was just really nothing in this area except for old ruins from a place called Jaffa, which you may know the story of Jonah and the whale, and also of Peter. And Peter being in a place where the Lord had spoke to him and told him in a vision to not call unclean the nations, the non-Jew, I mean, they were very set apart and special in that time, and thought that they were the only ones hearing from God. But Peter was on a rooftop, and we could look down the coast from this 18th floor and see the area where Peter had been told to not call unclean what God has called clean. And he was really talking and setting him up for an interaction with a Roman soldier named Cornelius. And so it's really a fascinating story, but to just look out this window and see the area just beyond where this had happened, everything else around the area that we were in was nothing but desert and sand and wasteland up until about 110 years ago. And it's just been built up so much, which is really, really quite extraordinary to see. So
even in the last 10 years, our friends that we met with today, they said even in the last 10 years since they've been here, I think they came in 2014, but they said that, there has just been so much growth since then in Tel Aviv, as far as the high rises and everything's so close together, and they're just building more buildings and going up because there's just not a lot of land left, and everything's so concentrated in such a small area. So I'll let you finish talking about our time with Avi.
Well, it was pretty extraordinary just to get a flavor of how special this place is. But then when we said goodbye for the evening, we were planning on meeting Avi the next morning, and we said our goodnights, and we got in our rental car, and we came to check into this place, and we couldn't find a parking place. And we had an assigned parking spot in the property, but there were some extra cars that weren't supposed to be here that were parked where we were supposed to have a reserved spot. So we go down the street, and we finally find just this place that we could park. We needed a can opener to get in there.
But we see all these Hebrew signs, and we don't know Hebrew. So we're like, does it say don't park here?
Right.
You'll get towed? Or, I mean, we had no idea what that was going to be looking like as far as anything, because the last time we came to Israel in 2017, we were on a tour. We were in a tour bus, and we didn't have to worry about driving around and dealing with all these really tight spots on the roads. And boy, that's been a lot of fun and really funny, because we're like, man, number one, we got the wrong rental car, because everybody else drives these little tiny little dinky little cars so they can fit in these little spaces, because they're smack right up next to each other on the street because there's no room.
You know the Mini Coopers? Those are big luxury cars.
Yeah. Luxury cars.
Okay, so imagine a cross between a smart car and a Honda Civic. I mean, the little Honda Civic, the hatchback, right? That's what most of the cars are like, somewhere in between there. And we've seen a few smart cars around, but there seems to be almost as many bicycles and motorcycles as there are cars.
Scooters, bicycles, motorcycles, and
everywhere.
Pedestrians, man, they just walk right in front of you when you're driving. And I mean, they don't have the right of way, but they do have the right of way. You know what I mean? Like they're just not even caring or paying attention that you may not see them, and it's dark. And, and then not only that, but people park literally up on top of the curb, or better yet, they literally get up on the curb totally, and they're parking next to a building on the sidewalk.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
It's pretty crazy. So we get our bags out and we walk them back down a block into the building, and we come in to find this place that is it's very I don't know how to describe it. I mean, it's very comfortable. There's decent furniture here, but there's nothing. I mean, nothing in any of the drawers.
Well, that's not totally true, but it's very sparse.
Yeah.
There's
which is fine.
Yeah. I mean, we have like 2 towels, no washcloths, granted, it was clean. It was, great. The host has been great. She's been readily available to help us, especially deal with the parking issue. She even worked that out for us. So she's been great. And we're happy. The place is growing on us for sure, but
we're also exhausted because sleeping on a 15-hour flight is not really sleep, So we were tired and we hit the sack, and we learned very quickly that this city never sleeps.
No, not well. Okay, I got to give it to him on this one. Shabbat night, Friday night, they did actually calm down a little bit, because not everybody, here in Tel Aviv.
That's Friday night.
Yeah, not everybody here in Tel Aviv, for the most part, shuts down for Shabbat, but there are some stores and things like that do stay open 24/7 that don't observe Shabbat, but for the most part, everybody else does. So, but every other night, I mean, it has been loud. I mean, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, you hear people coming up the road and honking their horn. Either a driver's delivering food, or somebody's waiting for somebody to come down, or, I mean, it is just nonstop. It's nonstop.
Yeah. Or they're drag racing on a one-way street with cars parked on both sides that only has probably 3 feet on each side between the parked cars. And they're just screaming up the road at, 20, 30, 40 miles an hour, screeching tires, crazy the way people drive here. But anyway, then we do get some sleep, and then we got up in the morning to meet Avi again, but not until after we got to pick up my brother Bob. Now, what about Bob? I got to tell you, this is a guy I've known for 7 years. I met him in Zimbabwe, and he is like a brother to me. And we've had weekly interaction for a long time, and he's really a kindred spirit. And he's behind the camera. He came from Zambia on a short-term mission trip, taking photos there, and he is behind the camera for us on what we're really looking forward to over the next couple weeks, to be able to share a story with you, not so much about the dead stones of archaeological spots and historical spots of
It's
the
not
Bible,
what we're here for,
which
for the most part.
And we've been here to see that and do that, but really this trip is about making a connection with the individuals in the land that are doing amazing work, and there really isn't very many of them, according to our perspective. Of what we've seen. So we really feel that this is a remnant of people that we're getting to meet with over these next couple of weeks that are just doing some incredible things. And we do hope that you'll stay along with us on this journey as we try to do our best to report about some things that are just off the beaten path, so that you can take a virtual mission trip in the Holy Land, or the land known as Israel. So we picked up Bob, and we met up with Avi, and he took us to a coffee shop that he and his wife own. It's called
Haugen.
Haugen, HAOGAN, and it means the anchor. Now, this coffee shop is not your average coffee shop. No. It is really an outreach into the community, and they are connecting with the community in a way. In fact, I got to share with you. It was absolutely beautiful. Even before we get to the entrance, there were a couple of guys, a father and son, and they were from Holland. And they were like, Avi, hey, it's us, and they were here visiting first time. Well, the father had been here before, but the son's first time, and he really wanted his son to get a feel for the land. And there's really no better place than this place called Ha'ogen, where coffee and the streets of Tel Aviv meet, because they're there really for a purpose. And that is to share good news to the people who are just doing life in the area. And when I say that, I want to be respectful of the culture, but I got to tell you, there is a deep spiritual need in this place that is really difficult to articulate, and we feel it, but we really see it, and I think anybody who just walks the streets here can see that there's such a variety of people. But there's also an aimlessness, there's a lostness, there's a worldliness, there's an ungodliness, and there's an apathy that's almost palpable, and so Avi has this coffee house connection that's really making a difference where they're at, and
he shared. We actually interviewed him just briefly that day at the coffee shop, and we did upload that video, and it's just give us coffee and Jesus. So if you haven't seen that and you want to hear a little bit more about what his outreach is, it's beautiful. One of the things that we just absolutely love about Avi is how passionate he really is to share Yeshua and what he's learned. He's a rabbi, and he's no longer leading the congregation. His son is, but we also went to that congregation as well. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself on that one. But honestly, Avi is the real deal. And you'll hear us say that on probably most, if not all, of these ministries, because they really are the hands and feet of Jesus here on the ground. And there's so few ministries that are really doing it because their heart is 100% in and passionate and just wants to see the fulfillment of God's people come to learn about him as their Messiah. And we're just really, really blessed and honored that we've met these beautiful people that, you know, kind of have the same heart that we do, but they're here in the Holy Land, and they know the truth. And yet there's so many that don't hear, and this land is lost. And they need their Messiah.
So we spent about 4 hours with Avi on Friday morning, and he had invited us back to his house, which is in the West Bank, also known as Samaria, to join his wife and his daughters and family and a few friends for a very special Shabbat dinner. And their hospitality is
so beautiful,
really indescribable from where we're sitting right now. We were just blown away by how gracious they were and how much they just honored visitors who really they had just met. So so they opened their home wide, and we had a wonderful couple hours there in their home. And Shabbat dinner, the lady, the lady of the house lights the candles, and she prays a special blessing before the meal. And then the husband, that's Avi, of course, but he read from scripture, and then he blessed his wife, and then he blessed the children, and then he blessed their guests, and boy, were we blessed. And
it was beautiful.
And then
absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, and then we just shared a meal that was out of this world. It was extraordinary, and had such a wonderful time with them. And
enjoyed meeting their family and their daughters and their significant others and their grandkids. And I mean, what a beautiful, beautiful family that they are. And they are all serving the Lord and just love him so much. And it's just so rich. This has just been so rich just in that first 24 hours, really, that we got here.
Yeah, and then when we got back to our place, we went out on the deck or the patio, and we just listened to the sounds of the street, of the city. And when we went to bed, we couldn't sleep, mostly because of the stark difference between the condition of the city and the wholeness of the friends that we had just met with, you know. And
well, that was actually Friday night. So actually I slept really good on Friday night because it was quiet out there. And we had such a wonderful time. And then Shabbat, I slept in. He went down to the beach to take some photos and just, get some quiet time in, and which was.
Can I blame
so
my
beautiful.
lapse of memory on jet lag?
I'm like, no, that's a day. Yeah, everything's running together here, but and forgive us for the time on this video, but we really didn't have an opportunity until tonight to go live. For some reason, our YouTube channel didn't allow us to go live until tonight, which is really strange.
Yeah, because we don't have a whole bunch of subscribers yet. So
share this,
like,
share our videos.
Subscribe, and So anyway, we had to delay our live tonight. So
yeah, till tonight. Yeah, and so. We're just going to try and recap pretty much everything until today, because today was spectacular. But Shabbat day was beautiful. We had gotten some food at the store on Friday because we knew that they shut everything down and we were worried that we wouldn't even be able to find anything open to have at least something. So we went and got some hummus and cucumbers and, just some things like that, and learned that even that store-bought hummus, that's, to me, I think way better than the States, is still not as good as the homemade in Jerusalem that apparently is waiting for us. So, but we did that with, just sat and enjoyed some time together. And it was really peaceful that day. And then, let's see, we go into the evening. Oh, we went to Shabbat service that evening. And if you want to see any of the Shabbat services, or service, videos there, I think there's 3 parts to that. So you can take a look at those if you're interested. It was a beautiful service. And, we cut it short at the end because there was a baby dedication for Avi, and Haya's, new grandbaby. And so then after that, we really struggled to find a place to eat because Shabbat was still pretty much going on. And so that was where we started getting a little frustrated because we're starting to see some things that, we were uncomfortable with, and in the drive around the town. And, that was, I think, the start of our feeling that, that apathetic nature of the people that are here. And it's hard to explain.
Personally, for me, it came because as we were driving, we looked into hollow eyes. We saw a lot of pedestrians just walking around, and we saw a lot of people. I mean, the smell of weed fills the air, and there's just a lot of worldliness all around. But for me personally, it was the stares. Like people just looking at us like. Well, maybe it's my driving. It's probably my driving. I pull into the crosswalk, a hair too far or something. But we got a lot of really dark, kind of hollow stares, like you don't belong here kind of look. And maybe it's my haircut, or I don't know. I don't know what it is. But we got a lot of it. I mean, just the sense that you get from the people on the street is, I just can't compare it to anything. And it really struck me, that there's just a teeth gritting kind of mentality up and down the streets. And we felt it everywhere we went.
Well, and then of course that, we shared this on our video that we couldn't sleep last night, but there was the motorcycle rider that got off of his motorcycle, and the guy behind him, and just starts punching the guy, through the window. And I mean, we're 20 feet away?
Yeah.
And watching this, and it was like we were kind of dumbfounded. And I've talked to several of our friends here since that happened, and they're like, "Oh yeah,
that's normal."
We're like, "Really? That's crazy."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Gosh, we better keep our windows up.
Right.
Make sure that no motorcycle gets off of his motorcycle. Wouldn't need to get away from him really fast." But just a lot of that kind of stuff is happening, and it's just really unsettling.
Babe, what about today? Do you want to?
Oh man!
We're gonna be uploading some videos from today that.
Yeah, okay. So, kind of heads up, if you're watching this far into 30 minutes of this live stream, we are going to be uploading an actual interview with we'll share with you in a minute who they are, but we'll be uploading that probably in the next couple of days. I don't know when. We'll be waiting for Bob, our photographer, to share that video with us so that we can upload that onto YouTube. But that's about 26 minutes long. But then David's going to upload one tonight, probably, of what he got briefly at the ministry we went to today. And that ministry, you guys, they are doing. They are the hands and feet of Jesus, and they are the real deal. Like I said on the interview, they are doing what nobody else wants to do. Literally, they're working with prostitutes and getting them off the streets and putting them in jobs, and not just doing that, but they're every day in the mix with these people. They're giving them lunch. They're learning about their lives. They're showing them the love of Jesus by their actions and by just being consistent with being there in this process of really, finding themselves through all of the gnarliness that they've been through in their lives. And
they also have a very well thought out strategic approach to having classes that help them get educated to a point where they can be on their own feet and have a job and function in society when they've been mistreated much, if not all, of their life. So it's a very well thought out, very well executed program for restoration, and they call it a second wind. We'll bring more to you about that through other videos. But just to mention the name, Matt and Tabea run www.kitepride.com.
That's
so
KITEPRIDE, like it sounds, .com.
Yeah. She also wrote an amazing book that I really enjoyed
I did too.
a month or two ago.
And I made her recipes that are in there too, and which she ended up serving for us tonight because they had us over for dinner tonight. Man, that's the one thing, man, the hospitality here. But these people are just so precious, and having us over for meals and.
Well, it started off with taking us out onto the Mediterranean to paddleboard.
There's that.
Or to try.
Paddleboarding this morning, David and I, well, he actually got up. He stood up for
a second
or two. I was able to kneel up on the board, but she has boards that are a little bit more advanced than what we're used to. And so, but it was fun, and the waves were so calm that it was nice to be out there. And the water is so warm. I mean, it's so unlike the West Coast for us. But yeah, so they had us over, or she picked us up and brought us down there, showed us how to paddleboard. We got off the paddleboards, and then we came back and got ready, and then they picked us up again for the day to go to Kite Pride, and we spent several hours at Kite Pride. They toured us around, and of course we had to be really, really careful with taking any videos or pictures of the actual production room of where these prostitutes are working. And I shouldn't say prostitutes, these survivors of human trafficking, because that's really what they are. They're survivors. They're surviving right now.
They're victims of a lifelong series of mistreatment, and it's just heart-wrenching to hear some of the testimonies of what their life has been like. But the hope that they have now, and that they've been given a second win, second chance. They often ask Matt and Tabea, why are you doing this? Well, we know the reason, and that's why we're here to meet with them. And we're just absolutely blown away and thrilled to be just knowing these incredible people. So
so we walked around all the production room, and then they walked us up to the balcony and kind of showed us around. I mean, this area it's pretty what would you describe this area? It's older. The buildings just are not in great shape, but yet they're doing things inside these buildings that are technology minded and whatnot. But anyway, they take us up to the balcony, and we prayed, and it was so beautiful to spend that time with them in prayer up there. And then we went back down, and we ended up, they allowed us to actually design our own backpacks. And we got to pick the colors and the zipper pockets and all of those things. And then they're going to be making them for us, and we'll get to pick those up before we head home, which will be really fun. But the cool thing about that is, if you guys are interested in seeing those actual backpacks, they have pages and pages and pages of things that are available that they sell. And believe it or not, we were actually very impressed with their prices. Now, they would say they're not bottom of the barrel prices because, they're paying these workers a fair wage so that they can afford to live, because Tel Aviv's very expensive, so that they can actually afford to stay off the streets
and to tackle debts that are racked up by creeps that have put them under their thumb and abused them and racked up huge bills. And they're not nice people who are willing to let them go with grace. So these individuals have a lot of debt piled up that they often feel that they could never overcome. And so the opportunities that these ladies and young men have to have a chance, have a second chance, is quite extraordinary. So we want to really encourage you to watch a video that we've uploaded with Matt and Tabea, and hear a little bit of their hearts and their story. It's quite extraordinary, and we think that you'll be blessed.
They are the real deal, man. Oh my goodness, they just have such a heart, and it's just true and pure. And I mean, Tabea doesn't even take a salary, with Kite Pride. For one, she can't, because she's not an actual Israeli citizen. They're from Switzerland. They're not even Jewish. But they have a heart to be here, and the Lord has called them to be here for such a time as this. And yet they need so much prayer, and they need help. They need financial backing. They need people that see the vision, that love Jesus, that really see what work they're doing, that's actually, planting seeds and watering them for these people that, they would have nothing if they didn't have this opportunity. So it's pretty incredible. They share statistics on, the amount of prostitutes that are on the streets here, and I think they said like 14,000. I thought it was more like 40 before, but it's about 14,000 on the streets. But still, that number is
about 14,000 too many.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So.
Well, listen, we've taken a lot of your time, and we appreciate you watching through to this point. We always want to encourage you to be a blessing in your community. Start with your family, but we have an acronym we like to use to B.L.E.S.S. Believe God and His promises.
Lift up others.
Equip others.
Serve the working poor and the needy.
And then send others to do the same.
Yeah.
And together we can, by the grace of God, be the blessing.
I was going to say B.L.E.S.S, be the blessing. But one more thing we wanted to share is, first of all, this trip would absolutely not be possible without the nudging and providing financial means from a very generous partner of ours. And the trip itself would not be possible as far as what we're seeding into these ministries financially. And it's different for each ministry, and it's whatever the Lord's leading our hearts to do. But all of that would not be possible with our generous partners who trust us and see that we truly mean what we say when we say that 100% of any designated donation that comes in goes right back out to do kingdom work. And so that's our brand promise. And again, we don't take any salary. And we just really feel like the Lord has tapped us to do what we're doing right now, and we would love for you to join us in any of these ministries if you feel compelled and called by the Lord to do so. And if you want to learn more, you can either go to blessingbroker.com, or you can even email us at info@blessingbroker.com and just say, how can I help or whatever. If you have a heart for a specific ministry that you don't see that we're highlighting here, we actually have, looked into ministries and vetted ministries also that we're not, meeting here in Israel, and, helped partners, match that need. So we truly are blessing brokers. That's all we do is we just broker your blessings. So that is what we're doing here in Israel, and we're honored, and we're in partnership with you. So we appreciate your financial support. We appreciate your prayers. Most importantly, your prayers, much needed, especially in the dark times that we're in, and especially here in this broken city.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there are many organizations out there that have great intentions. They do great work, but they also have great overhead expenses. So what we are doing with Blessing Broker is making sure that your love offering above and beyond any tithe of where you are fed goes to make the greatest kingdom impact. So, and
our focus is Israel, but we do also do other work around the world. So.
Yeah. So, so please stick with us on this journey. We've got a lot more information to come.
How many more ministries? 8?
We have 8 more ministries that we're going to be visiting over the next 10, 12 days.
Yeah.
We also will probably go live at a few biblical sites where something significant happened, and open up the book and read from God's word on what happened there. So stay tuned for that.
And I'll be singing the Aaronic blessing. Lord willing, it won't be live on YouTube because we can't seem to get it to work on our phones. But Lord willing, it will be in Capernaum, in the synagogue where Jesus taught. So if we can get internet service there, that's where we plan to do that. And anyway, I think that's pretty much it. We're at almost 45 minutes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for caring. Most of all, thank you to all of you who have been committed to prayer. We're already really feeling the effects of that. And so we really look forward to bringing you some more news as soon as possible. Yep. Until then, God bless you and keep you.
God bless you and keep you. Love you guys. Have a great night. Bye.